Good afternoon, my friends. This is the Grim Flayer. I hope you're doing very well today. Welcome to another Modern Donation League. This one is with Boomer Rock. Yet again, just like the last time we played Rock, very unusual to have no Lurrus 2 times in a row. Now, personally, I believe that Lurrus is absolutely the way to go, but I am here to fulfill the wishes of the donors, and I think the list is very, very good and eminently reasonable within the context of that. But I do fear that we're leaving power off the table. That way, I actually have a theory video coming on this, specifically on which way to play Cat Rock, Companion versus main deck Lurrus, and that's going to be cool. But for now, we're going to play a Boomer Rock list without Cat involved at all. It's a Cat-free zone, and I gotta be honest, guys, this is my second try. I didn't have any technicals for once. I just had the most tilting 1 and 4 in the history of time with this list. I played against a fan of the channel. That was a cool match on Esper Control, but he never really gave me a chance, frankly. I got wrecked at every possible turn, culminating in a very embarrassing Hexdrinker stolen by Archmage's Charm. I also got completely cheesed out by the Boom Bust Land Destruction deck, and in between those, I got 3 big mana decks that probably Veil of Summered me 10 times over the course of 3 matches, and also had good fire between and above and beyond the Veils. And the only match I won was when against Tron, against one of the big mana ones, where they mulliganed to 5 into 4 in the 2 games that I won. So, I don't know. That was just very bad. I'm just going to do it again. I can't really upload that one, can I? Feels pretty bad, but there you go. Now you know about it. Now you know about my terrible league, and it's driven me to drink, I have to say. I actually went the entirety of 2020 without a single sip of alcohol, and now I'm introducing it, just a drink or 2 a week, but here it is. I'm playing my first ever league with a glass beside me, so that's actually kind of cool. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, this is a list for Erwin Lopez. Thank you so much, my friend, for your ongoing support. Erwin has been a patron for 21 months, and he's been across the tiers, mostly, though, at the lower tiers, and that can accrue. All of those donations still add up, can get you a donation league, and Erwin has earned this one, so thank you so much, my friend. I do appreciate it. And let's take a quick look at your list. So, we have 23 lands. This is a pretty stock, by the way, Boomer Rock list, but there's a couple cool things to definitely note. 4 basic lands is worth noting. 3 Field of Ruin. This is the first of 2 changes that I suggested and he agreed to. This field was initially a Treetop Village. I love Treetop, everybody knows it, but we had to cut one because cutting any other land makes our black sources too few and far between, and I think the 3rd field is very important right now. And hey, we got old bordered fields right now. We're also debuting the old borders on the channel with this league. 3 Thoughtseize, 3 field, and an Abrupt Decay, newly old bordered. Very cool. So beyond the fields and the treetop, we've got 2 Peatland and a castle, pretty stock stuff. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. At the 1-drop slot, we've got the 3/3 split of Inquisition, Thoughtseize, 4 Fatal Push, and I really love 1 Unearth and 1 Cling to Dust. Exactly 1 each of those cards. I feel they are underrated in that role in Rock. And 2 Sexy Hexy. You gotta have it. We've also got a main deck Collective Brutality, and we do, I think, overall kind of lack maybe enough to do against red deck wins. Maybe we could use at least just 1 more card because we are on 4 Bob, but main deck Brutality definitely going to help us out there if we run into those matches. And as we say, 4 Bob, also 4 Goyf and 2 Scavenging Ooze supplementing. We have a traditional gold removal split of 3 Trophy, 1 Old Bordered Decay, and a Maelstrom Pulse, the good old 4 Lily. And then at the top end, we have an eclectic mix of one-ofs, and if you've been watching the channel for a while before Lurrus, I usually used to play this in Rock. All of these cards are very good at certain things, but they can be very clunky in multiples between the high curve and the fact that sometimes they're not doing exactly what you need them to do, especially given the investment in them. So, Plague Engineer, Tireless Tracker, and Questing Beast, each one-ofs, and I like the build a lot for what it is. In the sideboard, we have a lot of familiar faces, 2 each of Fulminator, Ashiok, Veil of Summer, Nihil Spellbomb, Plague Man, and Collective Brutality. No need to elaborate on those, I suppose. We also have a Damping Sphere, which I don't normally play, but I think is a totally fine one of. Lots of different use cases. We also have a Deglamer. I've been playing Deglamer or Evoke Existence a lot lately. This is the other change. Erwin initially had a choke here. We talked about how he wanted to maybe play a second Pulse there. We talked about that being a fine choice, but alternatives to Pulse number 2 included like Bloodchief's Thirst, a second Decay, and also Deglamer. And after going over the use cases of Deglamer, that's what Erwin opted for. We also have a 1 of Collector Ouphe, and I will say, even though I think Cat Rock is stronger, you cannot play Collector Ouphe and Cat Rock as freely, and you probably shouldn't really play it at all unless you absolutely need to in the meta. Right now, we don't absolutely need to, so it's not an enormous draw to Boomerrock, but it's still a good one to have around. Good against Tron and E-Tron and any artifact-based decks, even fine as a bear against Mishra's Bauble decks, right? That can sometimes shut them off, so please, for the love of all that is holy, can we have a better league than the one I just attempted to record? Thank you so much for watching. Thank you again to Erwin for all patronage over these months, my friend. This league is for you, and thanks to all viewers as well. Let's get into it. Let's do some boomer rockin'. Should be fun. And hey, guess what? We win the die roll. I forgot to mention, I think I lost the die roll all 5 times in that horrible league too, but that is behind us. You know, I'm going to keep this. You guys know I really dislike mulling in the blind with Rock. We don't have any interaction. That's obviously an issue. But on the play, the opponent might do our interacting for us in that maybe they've got kill spells that grow the Goyf. Maybe Hexdrinker is a removal magnet that clears the way for Bob. Maybe we will just draw our interaction off the top and be rewarded for taking such an aggressive stance. Either way, the ability of especially Boomerrock to beat people after mulligans in game 1 is not very high in my opinion on average. With Lurrus able to unmulligan you as a companion or as a main deck threat, but you know he's there as a companion, that is a different proposition a little bit. But I still don't really like mulling at all. So nevertheless, I probably would have mulled this hand on the draw because it's just too slow. Ghost Quarter into Amulet of Vigor. Oh no, it's big mana yet again. Hey, we draw Liliana. That's definitely a card. I'm just going to play Bob here, I guess. Because for all we know, the opponent won't really put anything into the graveyard at all. This is scary, though, because the opponent didn't mulligan for an Amulet. They just kept 7 with an Amulet, right? So our field will be able to probably hit something here. And if they're going to go land into Explore into Bounce Land, that's actually going to be pretty good for us, as long as they don't do anything crazy off the Bounce Land. Because it means they should maybe end the turn with a Bounce Land on field. But they're going to do something else. It's Crumbling Vestige. Big yikes. So we wanted them to present like an attractive Edict target, like maybe Dryad, or to play a Bounce Land without doing anything else crazy for us to field it. With the latter, we'd also love to draw a discard spell. Instead, they're just going completely crazy with Explorers. And, yeah, Valakut, sure. So they're studiously not presenting a Field of Ruin target, it seems. We can still field them. We can still field Valakut, I guess it'd be. Or we can play Liliana, or we could, like, level up Hexdrinker. It's all pretty bad, honestly. It's all pretty bad. Like, if they have a bounce land and then they can tutor the ability to get haste with Titan, but they've already played a Crumbling Vestige. I'm sure they can still give it haste, though, right? It's really, really unlikely that anything we do here matters, so I'm going to do kind of the most optimistic thing and hope they don't have a Titan rolled up, basically. Get the Lily online, start ticking up, and give ourselves also the ability to double spell, quote-unquote, next turn, which would be maybe a Field of Ruin activation into Tarmogoyf, or a couple levels on Hexdrinker plus Goyf, depending. But, yeah. Okay, we get EE out of there. That's actually really scary, because if they were having to play a more value-oriented game, there's no way they'd probably pitch that. Granted, we have diversity along our curve. 1, 2, 3, still. We kinda know what's coming, unfortunately. Or so I assume. There was no way we could attack their colors here, and in fact, Field of Ruin would have made their colors better. I'm glad I didn't field, not that I was that close to, I guess. They have Azusa, alright, well. They already had the Gruul Turf, right, so I guess it's not terribly different from them just casting a Titan. They either have the Titan or they don't. And of course, I've been assuming the whole time they kind of do. They could, in theory, keep an Amulet 7 with some Explorers and whatever and not have it, but do they ever not have it? Do they ever not have it? Dryad. Well, they could still have it. Imagine if this was the... Oh, man. Imagine a world in which this happens to you all the time. I just lived through it. Okay, they've got Summoner's Pact. GG. GG. Completely grotesque. It's like you're playing a different format sometimes when you're on Boomer Rock, but we can beat this deck. It's just not very likely. And we're not doing it here in Game 1. I'm going to concede. My morale is so low already. I will simply move on. And we have lost. Make no mistake. I trust the opponent to execute the plan. So let's move on. We have Fulminator Mages and Ashioks are great. Damping Sphere, pretty good. Then we're starting to get into the territory of like Deglamer and Collector Ouphe, which is okay. We don't really have any interest, frankly, in Plague Man anymore. Now that Field of the Dead is gone, it was never a big concern. Collective Brutality is maybe better than the rest, but we're probably not supposed to play it. I think we are going to trim the slow stuff. To me, that's Tracker, Plague Man, and the stuff that's not as relevant, like Cling to Dust. We got 4 more cuts to make. Let's go by CMC. We're going to lose at least a push, possibly 2 on the play. You got to respect the Tribe Scout, but other than that, our 2-drop slot's getting pretty crowded, so why don't we cut the main deck Brutality and also probably a Scavenging Ooze, kind of replacing Ooze with Ouphe, because we know that Engineered Explosives is a big part of their game. They might have Relics too. And I think that's about right. You could also say, should Unearth be Cling, or vice versa, or should we maybe put a Tracker back in or something? But I think I'm going to go with the Unearth. Because no matter what else is going on, even the Face of Graveyard Hate, it can just be cycled, and Unearthing Fulminator is really the big attraction here, so I'll go with it. But yeah, here we go again, right? Here we go again. Well, this is a pretty good hand, though. It doesn't have any sideboard hate, but we're going Thoughtseize into our choice of Goyf or Bob. Into, whatever, Maelstrom Pulse, Second Threat, whatever it might be. Old Bordered Thoughtseize feels good. Okay, so we can Thoughtseize a land. They have Turn Timber Symbiosis, but with 4 other lands, probably not. Guess we just have to kind of take the Amulet here. It's going to slow them down the most. Maybe give us time to find another discard spell for Azusa, too. Fatal Push. Okay. Let's play Bob Overgrown. We have so many good hate cards to draw toward, and right now their clock is the same. I understand that Goyf will grow, but there's no, like, immediately guaranteed way to grow him. So OP within our Arboreal Grazer. Okay, we can at least, like, Fatal Push that, play a Goyf, if nothing else. But that's kind of frustrating, because then Azusa is going to get to just go crazy. So I'd still just, not mind drawing a discard spell. We gotta push this stupid thing, though. It's gonna break our Bob attack. Bob flips Catacombs, and another Catacombs. Oh, good. So, yeah. Oh, God. This is so awful. I guess we do kind of have to push Azusa, but we're missing out on so much damage this way, but now that we can push Azusa, we probably should. So we'll make our bluff attack first. Could follow up with Brutality or Plague Man or something to make this actually make sense, but it was only a bluff. Play a Goyf pass to you. Oh god, this feels awful. Still no land destruction, still no Ashiok. We've got the stupid 0-3 breaking our attacks to a disturbing degree. And opponent's going to get lots of Azusa value here. They probably read us for a Fatal Push, right? But they play a Valakut first. Interesting. So we're going to get to respond to the first trigger, it looks like. Maybe not. They could play. They still have Turn Timber in hand. Yep, they sure will. And then they get to bounce Tolaria West. Nowhere near transmuting it, to be fair. I shouldn't say nowhere near. They're going to have a Simic Growth Chamber, and then guess they're kind of one land away. Alright, they didn't play another land, so now I guess we're just going to push Azusa while they don't have priority. Maybe they're protecting that bounce land. I kind of get it, but we'll certainly take that kill. Goyf is a very big boy now. Fulminator Mage, Lego. It's a nice one, and Thoughtseize. Well, perfect information. I guess we'll take that, right? Oh my god, their only card is Obstinate Baloth. This is a continuation of last league. This is a continuation of last league. You've got to be kidding me. I hate everything. I really do. I really do. Okay. Well, that sucks. But do we now maybe, just maybe, consider just pulsing the Baloth? There are no words for that. What just happened, it's definitely not wrong to Thoughtseize there. They could just have easily had Veil of Summer that we caught hands down, or literal anything else. Or nothing. But they had Baloth. Got it. Roger that. So anyway, I'm just wondering exactly how value positive it is to hit Tolaria West. I think I'm supposed to still just play Fulminator and tag Castle Garenbrig. But the alternative, of course, is to try to hit the Growth Chamber, but they might just hang on to it. So let's just attack. I think I'm just supposed to blow up a land right now. I'm going to make it Garenbrig. There are so many different permutations that could punish us for, like, not hitting Talaria West, for example, but this takes them off of a second green, which seems to be relevant for now, and also, like, just stops them from just top-decking Titan this turn. Alright. We have to, put faith in our Bob here that he's not going to kill us with flips. We've got Pulse for the Bailoff. We're still at 7. It's not that low. Trophy. Dark Confidant. Bob's a very bad one. Makes me kind of wish that I chump blocked with the other one, frankly. But whatever. I'm going to attack with both. There's not much of a reason not to. They're probably going to assign the block on Bob, but it takes away the option for them to chump block Goyf. We're giving them less agency this way, but these are very minor edge case things when, you know, a lot of the major things have just gone so wrong for us. Thoughtseizing the Bailoff was a disaster. The Bob flips have been painful too. Not so painful that, again, they should, on average, lose us the game even from here. But they could. Alright, there's a painless one, and there's a Hexy, sure. Alright, now we're chump blocking the Goyf. Alright, so Garenbrig plus, like, if we downgrade the chamber to a forest, Garenbrig can still cast a Titan. So I guess we're not supposed to trophy. I think I'm just going to level the Hexy all the way up, try to kill him next turn. Go a little bit shields down this way, but it's almost safer to do that just because we're racing harder. We're not going to die to our own Bob flip. We could die to some top decks of theirs, so we could get blown out too by other top decks that don't outright kill us. Under those circumstances, though, with relatively limited info, I believe that to be the best play. And let's see what they've managed to find. Summoner's Pact for Dryad. Okay, good game. Good game, well played. Good game, well played. Yeah, if we'd held up trophy, maybe we'd trophy something in response. Whatever. That's a complete disaster. Again, that was a lot more of a game than any of the games I had in the previous league, though, so maybe that's an improvement. But, yep, it's a big mana day, and we didn't get there this time. A rough one to run into. This was winnable. If they didn't have Bailoff to blow out our Thoughtseizes, I think we still probably win this, even under these circumstances, with other things not going perfectly. So whatever. I will go on to round 2, I guess. Alright, do we keep this somewhat risky one-lander? It has Thoughtseize and push. We got 2 cracks at finding a second land, and then we're pretty operational. I'm gonna keep. If I was feeling differently, maybe I'd maul. You know what I mean? I'm keeping here. Another feature of my aborted mission earlier, my bad league earlier, is many mulls to oblivion. OP going Hierarch off of Tomb. That is fascinating. We have missed the second land the first time. At least we know, though, that both of our 1-mana spells are live, so if we have a land in the top 2 cards, it's not, like, complete disaster, right? Because we have a ton of 2-drops. Alright, if they're going to Inquisition us, that's a bit of a disaster. Inquisition and Noble Hierarch together in the same deck. So they probably take our Thoughtseize here, unless they're doing something really weird where they have to play for the long game and they're also afraid of Plague Engineer. They could also just say, well, they're going to draw a second land sooner or later, let's start working on the threats. That's what they do. Fair enough. We draw a 3-drop. Let's go. Let's go. Uncastables. Alright. Obviously, I bear some responsibility for this keep, but if the opponent... Oh my god. Cling, Quattle, Monolith, Spell Stutter Sprite. What the heck? Take the 2 for 1. We're against Sultai Fairies. And they get to Cling. And then they're going to tempo us out with Spell Stutter Sprite and Monolith. If they find a blue land. Hey, if we can't have a second land, you can't have a blue land. It's only fair. It's only fair, right? If they draw a blue land here, we're pretty dead. They have drawn Thoughtseize. That's obviously always fine at this stage of the game. But they don't have blue. All right, come on, land. It's Inquisition. Well, okay. All right. Fallen Shinobi. All right. We gotta take Spell Stutter Sprite. It's the 2 for 1, and it also enables Ninjutsu. Alright, both decks with a major fail rate. Ours failing harder than theirs, but we might be ahead on resources if we can ever draw a second land. Notably, Trophy's pretty dead, because that'll give them... I'm assuming they have an island to get. It's gonna be dead for a while. Hey, Nurturing Peatland. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, Peatland. Here is my Scooze. Help you with a Noble Hierarch. All right. Now we need another land for a Plague Engineer naming human. We did it. Woo, 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 woo. Exciting times. Exciting times. Sorry, my voice is hoarse. My voice is not cracking. Okay, my voice is hoarse. Let's get it straight. Let's name human rather than druid. Just purely for Snapcaster Mage. I don't think there are any fairy druids out there, and whoa boy, we're getting lucky. OP with no blue ever. Us with a Thoughtseize. Cool. I think we should attack first in case they have something to flash in and we want to eat with Scooze or whatever. But really, we just want to play Liliana Tick up. Ditching the Thoughtseize, keeping the trophy in case we need to answer anything unexpected. But there is probably more incentive than there first appears to do the reverse. OP hanging on to that Fallen Shinobi, which is a good reason, I guess, for us to keep the trophy around, right? Alright, I'm happy with the draw of Swamp, because it allows us to just +1 freely and pitch it. Hang on to that trophy as mentioned. Okay, there goes Fallen Shinobi. Opponent might have drawn a kill spell here. That right now is my read, but it could be a whole lot of different things, of course. Let's find out. Drown in the Loch on Plague Man. Sure. Now that they've done that, I think I'm supposed to just eat a bunch with the Ooze here and put them dead on board. I was going to be a little bit more conservative, hold up Trophy, hold up Peatland, but now they've killed our Plague Man, and we must go ham with the Ooze as vengeance. Bruh. Snapcaster Mage. For Inquisition, at least they don't have a kill spell. Hey, I did mention naming human with Plague Man, and frankly, oh, they're going to cling to try to basically, maybe they have a land in hand, try to draw into a push. Maybe we could have read them for that and still been a little bit more careful with Ooze, however. Still definitely seems fine to me. Alright, well, let's just Edict you and attack for the win, we hope. Okay. Alright. I think OP could have just scooped in concealed info there, but again, maybe they had an out with the cantrip, so fair enough. Against fairies, well, it's not strictly fairies, but there is a spell stutter sprite. There are also a bunch of X1 humans, so either way, we want all 3 Plague Men, and both Brutalities, and both Veils of Summer, because they are both a blue and a black deck. You could also probably say that Nihil Spellbomb should be in here. I could see use cases for Ashiok, and frankly, even for Fulminator Mage based on that progression, but we are starting to side too heavily for our own good with those things in mind. So the only challenge here will be making cuts. Seems like a really good matchup for us, but also one that we could lose if we get tempoed out. But I don't see any bad cards, like literal no bad cards as far as I can tell. I'm going to cut Assassin's Trophy. I'm going to try this. It could prove to be costly, but ultimately I think they'll benefit a lot from the ramp that Trophy gives them, and we should have enough kill spells. I don't expect much that the other stuff whiffs on. Maybe like a Jace or something, but not too much, hopefully, beyond that. There's Fallen Shinobi, actually, so never mind, we do see something, but if they're getting to Ninjutsu for 4, we're already losing pretty badly. So I'm going to trim around the edges. Let's lose a Lily, I guess, on the draw. This is all pretty tough, because you can make a case for just about anything. We'll cut a single Bob on the draw. We will... I mean, Tireless Tracker, this seems like a match that she can pull away with, but I'm going to cut a couple trackers anyway, or cut the one tracker anyway, and then I was thinking about maybe cutting a couple Goyfs, but oof. Goyf is kind of bad against Ice Fang. Alright, we're going more of a controlling mode and trimming 2 Goyfs on the draw. Again, I don't see any bad cards in here post-side. I think Questing Beast is probably pretty important here, although maybe because it's a 4-drop, you could cut it for tracker or something. Why don't we do that? Sure. Can always go back to the drawing board a bit if they take us to game 3. Alright, no 1-mana interaction, but the opponent will mulligan, so I'll keep this very balanced, little slow hand, but there is so much to like. Wow, Inquisition right off the top? Okay. Are we going to get Veil of Summered? I think we have to try. We're not. Nice. So, Spell Stutter Sprite shouldn't hit much immediately, although it will before perhaps the end of the game. But for now, I don't think we should take Spell Stutter. We could take Snapcaster and simply play for the long game, or we could take Drown in the Loch so we can resolve Brutality next turn and take the push and then try to stick our threats. I think I'll play for the long game with Snap. Big time judgment call, though. If we draw a non-fetch land, we can still Brutality without turning on Drown in the Loch. I guess that'd be pretty ideal. Fatal Push. Alright, so we cannot... I'm content enough to just make this one for one trade, though. That's totally fine with me. The fact that we are now in this position, I think, rewards us for taking the Snapcaster. They do have the fail rate of never drawing the third land again, just like last game. Ooh, they found a Mana Leak. Okay, that changes a lot. So now they've still got Drown. But no third land. Okay. I'd love an Inquisition. It'd also be kind of cool to... Yeah, I'd love Inquisition. Now we get a land. Interesting. Yeah, I think we say go here, because we're making land drops. It's more valuable for us to time walk them. We get punished if they have something good to flash in on the end step, but they don't. Good. Noble Hierarch. Seems as good a time as any to Fatal Push that, I guess. We can now resolve a couple things under Drown and force the opponent to try to pick up the pieces. Liliana. Liliana's really interesting here. So I still am thinking it might be kind of better to just double spell, but then they can simply push and untap and drown. So maybe we're kind of priced into the Lily to get... Yeah, just to get some of those cards out of their hand. And so to that end, I will play out the land so I can double spell next turn, and I'm also going to pitch my Pulse and try to overload their removal with this Attrition. Okay, Sprite goes down. Hope he draws the third land. And we'll decay Liliana. All right. Now it's basically a top deck war. We have 2 threats, they have 2 removal spells, but we've also drawn Tireless Tracker. Fascinating indeed. All right, I think we're going to force them to use both of those removal spells, then try to find a land for Tracker, basically. It does kind of suck to do this, but... And they can do it. Island helps them cast Drown. But we are making them do it more or less. And Tracker, we left her in because she can run away with the game, right? Let's hope she does so with a fetch land off the top. Ooh, they've drawn 2 Fatal Pushes, so they still have a Drown. Whoa. Wild and crazy, but we hit the land. Classic BG Rock moment. Massive back and forth trading and Tireless Tracker to get a 2-for-1 when the dust settles. It's not going to run away, of course, totally with the game. Against that known Drown, but it's a sweet one. Again, we called the shot for a fetch land, but we'll take the basic. Fetch land would have been OP. Alright, definitely gotta crack this clue here on the end step. I didn't want to give them like a free kill with Collective Brutality or something. Are they really gonna let us go to our main phase and make another clue? Wow. That seems bad, but okay. They do still have a Drown in the lock, right? Yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing tracker things until they decide to drown it, I guess. Am I missing something? Nope. Okay. Plague Engineer, sure. I guess now we'll Thoughtseize. I mean, what are they holding up? Veil of Summer too? They could still have just main phase Drown. Maybe we should have attacked first. Maybe they would still let the Drown, let the tracker go, right? But I want more info for Plague Engineer to see if we want to main phase it or not. Snapcaster, we'll take it. Then I think we do now main phase the Plague Man, and the only question is human or fairy. I'm actually going to go human. I don't know if there are other fairies besides Spellstutter Sprite. So it is kind of back to a top deck where, despite all that advantage, the difference is we've hit 6 lands, the opponent is on 3. Cling to Dust, also finding a land. That's very bad. Cling can get a couple 2-for-1s for them. We've drawn Treetop Village, which, if you have to draw land, is one of the better ones. Not as good as Peatland or Locthwain would have been there, though. That's for sure. Inquisition. Okay, so we're going to fire up Treetop Village. We're going to attack. Maybe they will Cling main phase looking for a removal spell. If they do, we might have a good window for Inquisition, where we otherwise, against this deck, they're just going to have instant speed, everything, at this stage of the game with all these lands they've found. OP really tanking over that. Maybe they are kind of running through the same mental math as we just outlined there. Okay, so they draw a piece of 1-mana action in the form of a kill spell. Nope. Alright, we're going to Inquisition now. It could definitely still whiff, but this is a great time for it. Once again, we're always a little afraid of Veil, but yes, I was literally just about to say they could have Snake in hand. Man, that's big game. You know, it might have been better to name Snake with Plague Engineer there, just totally blind as we were. But hey, we're rewarded. We knew we were going to Inquisition the Snake away, right? Yeah, no, that's huge. That is huge. Probably just clinging again here. Which is an issue. This is their version of Tracker, basically. And they're just going to concede? Alright, good enough. They definitely had at least another turn, but I guess we were a bit too much of a match for them. Now, that's the type of Magic that we like to play. I understand that's a tough matchup for them. They're probably like, oh my goodness, BG Rock, who plays that, and it's so good against us. But, you know, so I understand it goes both ways. But after getting whipped pretty bad by Big Mana, feels good to have our stuff be relevant, our cards feel powerful, and to get a nice comprehensive dominant 2-0 here. All right. Sure, we are keeping in the extreme hope that Collective Brutality is a premier card in the matchup. Because If it is, we can turn this flood into gold. Or more importantly, even if it's just a relevant 1-for-1, we can be on the play, deploy our tap land, get a relevant 1-for-1, slow the OP down, and then stick Lily. Are we against Skred Red, Snow-Covered Mountain, and a Relic of Progenitus? My goodness. What is happening to my modern format? That is wild and crazy stuff, my friends. So, I think we are. We're probably supposed to Brutality. It could definitely whiff against Skred, though. But we're probably supposed to get a Swamp, because we know Blood Moon's coming. Gotta get Lily down under the moon. I'm gonna pitch Field of Ruin here. No, we don't even need to pitch anything, sorry. But Field will be my first Liliana pitch. I don't think draining them for 2 is worth it, because we have to hope the Lily plan's going to be relevant. We'll just, if nothing else, use all the lands as fodder. So yeah, every chance this whiffs against Skred, but let's find out. We hit a Lightning Bolt. That's a hit. That's a hit. We'll take it. But the rest of their hand is horrifying. Blood Moon, Chandra, Koth, Chandra. This is like a deck that only beats mid-range decks. But they do have to hit their lands to make that happen this time around. We've drawn Fatal Push, which could protect a Lily from Koth of the Hammer Mountains, I guess. If we were on the draw, we would automatically lose this game 1, assuming they hit their lands, and then we'd be on to game 2. That's the difference between play and draw with the keep that we made. I just want everybody to understand that. They pitched Blood Moon. Okay, I get it, actually. Maybe I shouldn't have showed them as many basics as I did, I'm not sure. Snaring Bridge, okay. We'll find an out to that at some point, I assume. Cling to Dust. Going to keep our basics. So one of the reasons they could have picked Blood Moon is just because they have another one too. And they did. Okay. Still definitely want to keep our basics here, though. But we can't activate Castle Locthwain this way, so it's like until we draw another black land, so it's a little back and forth. But I'm kind of assuming they go for the Koth here and then untap a mountain. No, they're going to go for Chandra. Interesting. Okay, fair enough. I actually might cling my own Blooming Marsh just because Blood Moon's good in the yard for Goyf. But Goyf's going to be real tiny either way. Probably doesn't matter, but let's cling our own Marsh here. Draw another one. Kind of bad. Kind of bad, though. And a Field of Ruin. Alright, I don't think there's a world in which they activate Scrying Sheets next turn and it really matters, so let's just play Field of Ruin and pass, holding up Fatal Push, holding up Field itself, of course. They begin by playing Relic of Progenitus. And then are they just going to make mana and play Koth after cracking Relic, probably to see another card? I guess so. They find Mountain. Yep. Push your mountain. You don't say that every day. We're going to field the scrying sheets to take their utility away and fix our basics even more. And then we're going to still have to kind of draw a heater off the top to make our alt decision obvious. Chandra's the biggest threat. We draw Tireless Tracker, huh? Alright, so Chandra's even more the biggest threat. Koth can win the game with mountains alone. Maybe not that easily with us having a Balduvian Barbarians in the form of Tracker to pressure, but it can still happen. So if we separate Koth from the mountains, what are we leaving them with? Chandra and mountains? That seems bad. We could leave them with both planeswalkers and no lands. What do we think about that? Fascinating decision. That is for sure. So we kind of have to separate Koth from the mountains. I think I'm going to put both planeswalkers in by themselves. If they just rip lands off the top, these two planeswalkers are still going to beat us. And if they sack both planeswalkers, then they still can cast anything they draw just about, plus they'll have a bridge. So this is not ideal, but I think no pile is ideal. I'm going to do it like this for the memes, and I could certainly spend more time thinking about it. I don't think there's like a clear, better, broad strategy that's jumping out to me anyway. I mean, either way, we're getting a sweet amount of value out of this Liliana. They keep both planeswalkers. Too funny. Too funny. Alright, you know, I actually think I'm supposed to play the tracker, force them to minus with Chandra. Man. Let's see what happens from here. Fascinating. Okay, tick down, sure. No activation of Koth. Why not just tick up for loyalty? Alright, there's a Bob. Will you cash in your Chandra to kill the Bob? Scrying sheets, not a mountain notably, but allowing them to cast an Ensnaring Bridge. Interesting. Oh, I'm sorry, you need a target to +1 Koth. Interesting, didn't really know that. We have an Unearth. We have found, my friends, an Unearth. We cannot attack, so let us... I mean, the draw of Bridge was actually kind of insane. Alright, so next turn we'll Unearth the Tracker and go a little crazy, hopefully. Ooh. Yeah, the draw of Bridge absolutely killing us here. That was way more impactful than I immediately gave it credit for. We draw a Skooz. Cracking a clue. Tarmogoyf. I'm not sure if we play that over Skooz. It's obviously better if... I think we probably still do. It's obviously better if we find an out to bridge. Now, if Koth plus ones again to animate the mountain, we can push it. But now he'll probably just alt. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Alright, we now just need an out to bridge. Inquisition is not an out to bridge. Guess we just play the Ooze and eat the Bob right away, so we're not dying to the Koth emblem. Our Ooze isn't dying to the Koth emblem, that is. Oh, no. I should have waited for them. That was so bad. I had it in my mind, just basically was talking and distracted myself and clicked the wrong way. That was awful. My apologies. Yep, obviously we just wait for them to blink, or we, if they just decide to go upstairs, which I guess they probably would have, we then activate Skooz then. So, very bad. OP with a Mind Stone, a little cantripping action. And they found a Skred. That is rough. Alright, we have a deck full of outs to bridge, though. And there it is, Assassin's Trophy. You'll love to see it. So, we should be able to get there from here. We are pressed into attacking Chandra off the field. We have given them another mountain for the Koth pings. But we can't afford Chandra to keep either damaging us or, more importantly, seeing more cards. So yeah, my bad about the Skooz play. No question of that. That could become relevant. They would have still been able to... Well, maybe not kill... Oh, they just rip another Chandra. Not allowed. Not allowed. We can stick a Hexdrinker here, though. And beat the Koth pings that way. We're drawing a whole bunch of garbage besides that. We could still win this race. Tarmogoyf OP. We've already fought through 2 relics. Another relic, needless to say, would be incredibly bad for us. If they find another mountain, they can kill Hexdrinker with it. They find a Mind Stone, so it digs, but in a very inefficient way that benefits us greatly. Now we're getting Hexy to level 8, and that's probably the game. So we can Inquisition, still hold up a push, and still level up Hexy? I guess we probably should. If they have a Bolts, they can fire it off in response, but we still won't be quite dead. Even to a mountain off the top. But we could be dead to Bolt Bolt plus Mountain Pings. We get a Mind Stone. Cool. All right. Beautiful. That was intense. If I had played more optimally around the skews like I was with the skews like I was talking about, it might have been a little easier. But either way, it would have been very close. This is a total non-meta deck. Like I said, I don't think it beats much besides mid-range, so I'm feeling pretty aggrieved to run into it. That said, Collector Ouphe, although it dies to everything, still will shut off enough of their things that it should come in. Deglamer, also fine. And well, that's pretty much all we get to do here. There is probably a world in which we have room for a Collective Brutality, but like I said, the main deck one can even whiff, and it's just a question of what we don't need. Probably supposed to cut Fatal Pushes, but is like the second Brutality better than the second push? I don't really know. We've got a lot of medium cards, but I think we should stay teched, like hedged. Like a Plague Engineer against Goblin Rabble Master, for example, is fine. Yeah, until we see a little bit more, I think running it like this is correct. Man, you know it's a weird day of Magic when you run into Skred Red in a league. I mean, it's kind of a weird-looking keep, but I think I might go for it. Collector Ouphe's got the cheese factor, Inquisition's what we want to see. We do have a little bit of natural game against Blood Moon, which will still be in post-side against us, I imagine, even though we're only 2-color. Unless they have a metric ton of things to do against mid-range, which they really shouldn't, because again, what else does their main deck do, really, besides beat mid-range? I'm not, admittedly, very certain. So, draw another swamp. Seems to happen every time I keep a sketchy high land count, we always draw another land right away. The opponents kept a sketcher as well, as far as high land counts go, but the difference is they've got a Chandra. We've got a Collector Ouphe, we've got a Grizzly Bear. But, you know, they rip Relic, they rip Mind Stone. Ouphe looks a little bit better. And I think in general, bringing in a bear here is fine. Their removal deck, gotta overload their removal somehow. Nice hit on the Inquisition, though, taking away the Stomp. Their hand is way worse without it. Another land. Jeez Louise. Alright, well, I'm going to show them Forest, because I can't afford for them to Blood Moon. And don't get me wrong, if they have no other play, they'll still make it. But we don't want them to Blood Moon, because we need Treetop to pressure Chandra. And we need Nurturing Peatland to find anything besides more lands off the top. And Field of Ruin can hit the Scrying Sheets, and it goes on and on. Hexdrinker, huh? I really don't think I'm supposed to play that card quite yet. Let's just play a Treetop Village, and if whether Chandra +1s or minuses, we should be able to attack her off the field, unless maybe she pluses into removal. If she pluses into removal, we'll be into some trouble. But if Chandra has to minus, then we'll take that. Yep. Alright, Collector Ouphe, good job. Inquisition. It could very well whiff, but I will fire it off. Wish you were a Thoughtseize, but we hit anyway. Hey, a painless Thoughtseize, as it turns out. I take it back. I'm glad you were an Inquisition. Alright, opponent playing completely and totally off the top. They will begin with a Scrying Sheet's activation, which will whiff. Good news for the good guys. We draw Castle Locthwain. Surely we just go for Hexy, right? Level 4 this turn, level 8 next. Okay. Fade a top deck one time. Nope. Chandra, the perfect top deck dancer, level 4 Hexdrinker. You hate to see it, but Treetop will take care of her on the crackback, we assume. And we draw another Hexy. Pretty hype. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we still have to answer Chandra as priority 1. I think we should probably hold the Hexdrinker in that case. Should we, though, actually? Because, I mean, it beats Anger of the Gods that way. Most other things they'll either be able to respond to our activations next turn, or it'll be another Planeswalker. So, against exactly Anger, we should hold it. Against anything else, we should probably play it, because then we're going 2 levels this turn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 next turn. Alright. If they have Anger, they win this battle. If they do not, we have made the optimal play. They have Ensnaring Bridge. Okay. Well, once again, we just kind of need to find an out to that. Not to state the obvious or anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I mean, we gotta just go for the level 8 here. While we can. See if their last card is a bolt or other instant removal. So I should amend some of what I've been saying. They can definitely steal games with Ensnaring Bridge against aggro decks. Last I knew, they weren't necessarily playing that. And obviously, like main deck relics, Hose Dredge, you get it, right? But in general, Skred, not the most competitive meta deck. And I'm, like, not hating that at all. That's actually pretty cool. But the only reason I mention it is because a lot of the less competitive but fun to play decks, they happen to line up pretty well against mid-range, right? Okay, so I think I'm actually going to deploy Peatland here rather than Tomb, and the reason for that is I'm going to hold Tomb for Tireless Tracker. But Peatland, of course, we might want to crack next turn, so... OP flooded. So are we, to be fair. But we have monosinks. So does OP with Scrying Sheets, but all it does is get dead snowlands off the top, and so far they haven't been lucky enough to make that happen. Alright, it's time to do a little fielding of these sheets, though. They're going to come up sooner or later. Yeah, then we'll just double spell, so... Alright, if we ever get out of this bridge, opponent will abrade our Bob. Sure. It's going to be tough for them to win with their own bridge down, plus a Hexdrinker at level 8. Planeswalker Alt is probably their best bet. Hey, Relic is a good one, though. Relic's a real good one. But they're not going to main phase it for fear of making our discard better. I get that. We found a trophy. Nice. Trophy your bridge, my friend. So then if we shock in this land, we still cannot activate castle and activate field. Ooh, they shouldn't probably relic in response, because now all this, the trophy and the bridge are going to go in the bin. But maybe they wanted to try, I don't know, they're trying to find a bolt or something right there. I think we're going to field the sheets to grow the Goyf out of bolt range right now. And then we actually, I think I misspoke, we actually can activate Castle Locthwain as well, which we'll do on the opponent's end step. And they're pretty dead, I have to assume. I don't know if this deck would ever play a Blast Zone or something for Hexy, but I think we got him. Uh-oh, what the heck is... Chandra Awakened Inferno. Whoa, that can't beat Hexdrinker, though. The -X targets, and the sweeper mode is only -3, but they do get a Goyf. Dead. However, they are just dead on board unless they have removal for Treetop Village, right? They're going to play a Mind Stone, so they're dead. A Treetop Village has been immense. Immense against Skred Red. We draw Tracker, which is pretty cool. But Tracker just observing the kill. Wow. Okay, we 2-0 Skred Red through some tough ones, but again, it feels like they're very favored against any mid-range deck, and they had very decent progressions. They were by no means perfect, though. They had fail rates, they flooded a bit, and we exploited those holes, and we had some good stuff, Hexdrinker OP. So yeah, good times. Alright, we keep. Inquisition. Fatal Push. Scavenging Ooze, Hexdrinker seems fine. Can I get like a burn opponent here? Can we see burn? Wow. Shot called or shot called? Close enough, it is Prowess. Light up the stage or crash through. That's a pretty weird keep from the opponent, not gonna lie. We'll take the light up, we'll take the 2-for-1 and respect the mid-game, but the ultimate idea here is that crash through, the consideration to take that, I should say, is that we do have sorry, I'm just thinking of what to do here. I'm just going to play Hexdrinker and put a level on. Threaten to go all the way with this card, and if they have an answer for it, which hopefully they don't, then we get to clean up with Skoos. Crash Through would make their early game a little clunkier, though, because then they'd have to specifically draw something that is good against Or that turns on light up. Sorry, I'm all over the place with my speech here. Opponent's got Mixed Mountains, gotta track those accurately. And they've got the Lava Dart. You hate to see the dart. Okay, we gotta go for the Skoos now, I think. We do at least get to eat the dart, which is great. And now we just, you know, it's not that worth really saving the Skoos because dart could enable other things, and Skoos can clean up the graveyard before Bedlam Reveler comes down. And that's very important as well. So opponent's desperately digging for a kill spell for Skoos, it seems. But they found it. Darn, Burst Lightning, really? Okay, that punishes us for not eating our own Hexdrinker, but I do think that's correct overall. That said, we are, as I say, max punished. Collective Brutality, a fine one. I'm gonna hold it. I need that to be a kill spell. I mean, the draw of exactly Burst Lightning. Maybe they have a Lightning Bolt in hand, too. Who knows? But that's insane. Lava Dart. And Bedlam Reveler. Yeah, we had to try to stop this from happening. I don't really regret the Skoos play, but it didn't work out. Okay, so we can now Thoughtseize and Brutality. I think we're probably supposed to try to answer their whole hand. Swifty, Lightning Bolt, Lava Dart. They're going to draw more threats, so I'm going to do it this way. Reveal hand, gain the life. Take the bolt, but the opponent did what they have to do against us, which is resolve a Bedlam Reveler really early. Their Thoughtseize coming just annoyingly late. And as I say, they are going to draw more threats, so we need to hold up this Fatal Push and keep it in hand, not aggressively escalate it away, because number one, we got to kill the weenies that they'll find if they find them, and number two, whoops, there's a Lava Dart in hand, but they'll obviously spend it here, so sure. Number two, killing the weenies is not only good in of itself, it's also a good way to edict the Bedlam Reveler should we draw Lily off the top. So we're still not down and out, but we're hurting. Hurting pretty bad. We're down bad. They just immediately rip another Bedlam Reveler. Obviously. So now the only thing we can do is draw our one of Maelstrom Pulse. Why did I ask for this matchup? Oh my. And it's such a tilt, because we rip a trophy, we rip an answer, so if they just weren't chaining Revelers, we'd be in the game. But they are, and we're basically dead. They have two Lava Darts still in the bin, remember. All kinds of prowess just waiting in the wings. Might as well wait and let them shove all in. We've got two kill spells here. They have a third Reveler. I mean, okay, this is how everything's been going for me lately, by and large. So, why not? Why not? Why am I playing this game? I'm going to concede. If I'm going to play, I should wait till the optimal moment, but it literally doesn't matter. Man, that was a rough game one. I should have looked how many cards deep they were to find all three revs and the means to chain them in the face of pretty good curve from us. Anyway, I'm about ready to kick my bobs to the curb here. 2 Brutality, 2 Spellbomb, 4 Bob out. We probably should make room to cut at least one other Thoughtseize, preferably 2. Everything else that we're playing should be fine. One Thoughtseize can become a Plague Engineer, which isn't that good. Maybe the second Thoughtseize is better than the second Plague Man, to be perfectly frank. Some people might play Damping Sphere. I don't agree with that. They play a value game. You can't have a do-nothing. It's not a threat. It's not an answer. It's not like hard hate. It's just like you go a little slower sometimes. Sometimes they won't care. Maybe I'll try it one of these days. Look at this horrible hand. 5 lands. Plague Man, Spellbomb. Have to mulligan you. Opponent will keep 7. We can keep this. I'll bottom Plague Engineer. And we're going Inquisition into Goyf off of a couple basic lands. It could definitely be worse. Opponent has Wild Slash, Lightning Bolt, Lava Spike, Crash Through, Bedlam Reveler. Your classic 4 1-drops, 2 lands, Bedlam Reveler hand. I could count probably on one hand over 100 Prowess games the number of openers I've had that looks like this. Just wild and crazy powerful stuff. I'm going to take the Bolt just to guarantee that their most flexible card goes in the bin, and also that we have instant and sorcery in there to start for Tarmogoyf. They're just going to Lava Spike us. We're also, in theory, able to deploy the Goyf this way. Goyf would die to Bolt without a land in there. I'm not very comfortable doing it, but I still kind of think I have to. We can't trophy them this early with a Reveler coming, and we also can't do nothing. And they might not even present a threat for us to trophy in any case. So, here's our Goyf. Please don't draw bolts. They do, obviously. Okay. We draw Thoughtseize. So, if only our fields had a target, we could fix our mana and then Thoughtseize, but we'll just have to spend a turn single spelling and taking life, which really sucks. But, hey, we do get the Bedlam Reveler. That's got to count for something. Collective Brutality. I'm going to say go here. Okay, OP with 3 unknowns in hand plus a snow-covered mountain. They play the mountain. There's a Swiftie. There's a Lava Spike. I think we have to trophy here. It's bad against Rev, but what isn't? Hopefully, the ideal would actually be that they have a Kiln Fiend in hand and we give them a land, then they play the Kiln Fiend. But those might be out against us post-side. Or they play like a Soulscar Mage. They don't, though. Verdant Catacombs. I'm really not sure what to do here. I think we might have to pitch Brutality, as crazy as it is. Like, get the last card out of their hand with Lily. And have her primed and ready to Edict. It doesn't seem correct. Like, there shouldn't really be a world in which this ends up being our line, right? But, when you're stuck on colors for a while. Oh god, they've got an instant, of course. Well, you know, the Brutality wouldn't have been fantastic there. We just gained 2, and then we're still on a single black source. In case we draw another Lily, that'd be bad. So, it's 20-9. It's a top deck war. We're probably losing, but if we draw a Goyf, We've got an okay shot. Opponent going to their main and then tanking. It makes me think maybe they have another instant speed. Yeah, okay, Lava Dart. See, I think I was gonna say I think they're maybe waiting, but yeah, they probably should have waited, right? Okay, another Lily. This puts us in a very slightly better position than we were before the last turn happened. So kind of same deal, but slightly more loyalty. And I think OP punished for the Lava Dart. We draw Maelstrom Pulse. Drawing a reactive card there is awful. OP did too, though, to be fair. Good to know about Kozilek's return. OP with a Soulscar Mage. Alright, can we get it? Can we get a Goyf? Can we call the shot for a Tarmogoyf? We can get an uncastable Questing Beast. That would actually be insanely good here if we had a second green source. The colors, I think, have been unusually unkind to us this league. OP with a Mountain. Us with a Thoughtseize. Okay. OP would be at 12 and we'd have a Vigilant blocker if one of these lands made green. There's another Soulscar. Well, we have a Fatal Push. I'm gonna Edict. We are lucky, to be fair, that these Soulscars are not Swifties in this exact type of spot. Okay, Lily goes down with a Lava Spike, which I don't mind. She did more than we had any right to hope for at that stage. But can we just do anything proactive? Please, 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 deck. You're driving me over the cliff here. We have so many good draws. Nihil Spellbomb would be a nutty draw. Field of Ruin is arguably the single most tilting draw we could have. Arguably the single most tilting thing I could have seen there. Am I right? Overgrown Tomb, it's a miracle, but we have to pay 2 life for it. We will. Hey, there he is. There he is. A mere 5 turn clock. You get the sense opponent maybe is drawn like a bolt or something instant speed there, though. So we could be... Well, they didn't. Okay. Or maybe if they did, they're waiting to try to double spell the QB to kill it. Now they're going to bolt us, because I guess they found Light Up the stage too. Or Bedlam Reveler, but it's Light Up into Reveler and Burst Lightning. Alright, well, it's been nice knowing us. When we fail to do anything for a million turns, this will happen. Yep, about as frustrating as you can imagine here. Soul Guide Lantern. Okay. Even if we kill the Rev, we are dead to any burn spell. Because we know they have Burst Lightning, so we need... I don't know. I guess we need life gain. Talk about the tilt. Nihil Spellbomb the turn after they Reveler us out of the game. Sure. I still kind of have to cast it and use it. But we're cleaning up all of our Skooz fuel, so if we draw a Skooz right now, then I'm just going to say we were meant to lose. You know what I mean? And we don't, to be fair. Field of Ruin accomplishes nothing here, so I'm going to keep it in hand in case we draw another Brutality later, and we miraculously don't die this turn. But I'm afraid we're going to, aren't you? Burst Lightning kicked. The text-less promo made me forget about it. We have no outs anyway. Okay, so, good matchup for us. The opponent curved out like madmen on us. What are you gonna do? I mean, I'm happy enough to play the matchup, but this is just how my day has been thus far, my friends. So, we do fall to Prowess at the end of an okay run. You know, we were kind of lucky to beat Skred Red in the way we did. The run could have been much worse than it was, but there you go. Got by Burst Lightning. GG. Alright, friends, so, you know, as it turns out, imbibing while playing, not probably making me any better of a player. Also, as it happens, not really making me any better of a content creator. I got up in between rounds and, thought I started recording again when I got back. Turns out I forgot. I will blame the drink, but you know, you guys know I've done this before while totally sober, right? So, what are you gonna do? We are against Mill. Declaring Luris as a companion, mulling to 6, and then playing good old Crab T1. It is important to kill the crab on site, and that is indeed what we will do. Sometimes you'll have an alternate incentive, but generally speaking, that's just about as good as Bolt the Bird, right? We are a little bit punished, I should say, more accurately, opponents rewarded for this sequencing. They lead on the smaller crab and follow up with the bigger crab, which, as it so happens, you know, if they'd done the opposite, we would have had Collective Brutality lined up for a turn 2 kill. Either way, they would have gotten 6 cards worth of mill out of it, but now we do not. So, not for the first or I dare say last time this league, our utility lands are actually kind of killing us, specifically Field of Ruin. I know this is its time to shine, but it hasn't been able to pull its weight too much in the big mana matches anyway, and it's been pretty cripplingly bad as just a brown land. Here's a great example. So we draw another Fatal Push. That solves our Collective Brutality problem, but it comes at the cost of us not being able to double spell, and of course Thoughtseizing is very, very important right here, right now, too. So it's definitely a judgment call. I basically have 1/3 incentive to Fatal Push, 1/3 to Thoughtseize, and another third to play for the higher upside of playing Bob. The hope with playing Bob is that we'll be able to kill the crab next turn, start clocking, and also double spell. We're going to hit another land that way with Bob, so to that end, I do actually opt for the Bobby here. Bob has been good on curve for us, and, you know, it definitely is punishing, though. Opponent making another land drop in the form of a fetch land, getting a ton of value out of the crab, Glimpse the Unthinkable milling us for 10, and then Visions of Beyond, cantripping, and we have 23 cards in our graveyard, so that is an Ancestral Visions, my friends, and that is completely and utterly insane. Mill player can consider themselves well and truly unmulliganed. Bobble Flip and Inquisition, and Assassin's Trophy is the draw for turn, so we still cannot do anything about this, so one option is simply to, or we cannot do anything too efficient. One option is simply to push and attack, and then maybe Brutality the hand as well. But then we are resigning ourselves to probably single spelling again next turn, which I regard as a death sentence. So even though we give the crab another activation, we're going to at least fix our own mana a bit, and we are going to also, of course, kill the crab finally. Start swinging in with Bobby, but a lot of damage has been done. But now, even if we don't hit another land, or not an untapped land, we can double spell at least, right? And that's what we have to do to start winning this game. OP didn't archive trap us or anything off of that Field of Ruin, and they're fielding us here, so have they top-decked one for turn? No, doesn't seem so. I guess they're just getting yet more crab activations. So once again, our clunk has caused us to fall behind, and the opponent's curve is really, really strong. We flip Scooze, we draw Blooming Marsh. There's a lot going on here. At least our Brutality can kill the Hedron crab, right? So with 3 cards in the opponent's hand, I do judge it wise to lead on Inquisition. They could have all and sundry, I guess. Any number of things is what I'm trying to say. If they had not fielded us exactly last turn, I would have Thoughtseized instead, because then one thing we could potentially read them for that Thoughtseize could hit that Inquisition could not would be, of course, Archive Trap. As it happens, it's a bit of a nothing burger because they just have 3 lands in hand. Well, good thing, my friends, that we can kill this crab. And I also do decide to escalate just to drain for 2. getting rid of that dead Thoughtseize and going on the beatdown plan a little bit quicker. And Thoughtseize is still, make no mistake, pretty dead. If they do top deck Archive Trap, they can hardcast it, or they can field us. Either way, whatever they prefer. But the problem is that these lands are Shelldock Isles, so we definitely have a lot to dislike, and the opponent will also just rip Fatal Push right off the top. And they decline to put Lurrus into hand, which at first I think, well, that's just a mistake. You know, what are they doing here? So part of me wanted to say, okay, well, have they just decided they've got the kill off Shelldock Isle? Should we therefore trophy the Shelldock Isle? I don't know about that. It'd have to be something relatively specific. I think we're supposed to play double Skoos. These cards can get huge. These cards can disrupt opposing top decks. We just got to put the best clock on possible. And Fatal Push cannot kill Lurrus. So if they're waiting to be able to, like, put Lurrus into hand and deploy it this turn, got to make sure we've got the kill on the Lifelinker and the one that can buy back the crabs. But as it happens, we have exactly 13 cards in our library, and Shelldock Isle found an Archive Trap. Why wouldn't it, right? So, just so many things like this have been happening in this league and in the league preceding it that there was ultimately no surprise. So we are, of course, dead to our own draw step, and we do drop a very winnable game one against Mill. Their progression was really strong. If one of our Fields of Ruin had been a Blooming Marsh, I dare say we would have kept right up with them. They did have a pretty strong progression, though, even independent of our interaction, or lack thereof, in crucial turns, and if they had still managed to refuel the same way they did off of Visions of Beyond, we would have been hard-pressed to keep up with that, even if they weren't quite so overbearing. But once again, we drop a pretty winnable game one. We'll have to do a little bit better post-side. Alright guys, so the good thing about Mill is our main deck matchup is pretty good. I am less in, like, when the 8 crab Mill deck first came out, I was still, trimming a push, usually an average of 1, depending on your progression and your, you can get rewarded for that, right? Depending on your 75 as well. Of course, if you're on Jund, you can kill the crabs really well with bolts. On Rock, I was still trimming 1. I actually am not doing that today. Probably don't regard that as correct. We are, though, kind of hard-pressed for slots. I end up trimming some reasonable stuff. Tracker pretty slow. One single Lily I ended up trimming just for the sake of egg trimming. The main deck Plague Engineer goes as well, and also a Maelstrom Pulse. Most of these cards are pretty much fine. In comes, though, 2 copies of Veil of Summer, and that's going to beat their permission, it's going to beat their removal, and it's going to beat their targeted mill spells, such as Glimpse the Unthinkable, very powerful card in this matchup if it lines up. And also, we have 2 more Brutality. I do think we want all 3 Brutality in against Mill. And, between Brutality and if you were on Lightning Bolt, then yeah, maybe trimming a push or 2 is good. Here, I decided to keep them. Also, Nihil Spellbomb, among other things, but especially Nihil Spellbomb could play a role, but we opt for some more conservative siding, and this is a classic on the play keep, right? Triple Goyf, plus a Hexy, and a Fatal Push, and 2 lands to cast them. No fetching necessary. You do love to see it, and the OP will just play a Shelldock Isle, which is what killed us in Game 1. Very powerful land against a mid-range deck. However, it does give us the luxury of deploying another threat here. So is that what we're going to do? Are we going to play a 0-1 Goyf? Well, you bet your bottom dollar, because we have a Field of Ruin to grow the Goyf if absolutely necessary. More importantly, we hope they play a crab, and indeed they do. And it makes total sense. They slow roll the crab until the second turn. They're deploying their tap lands, when they have relative luxury of time. However, they're going to grow our Goyf a bit for us, and they're going to enable a double spell turn. We draw Lily, who is uncastable. We don't have double black. Yet again, the color's looking kind of bad, right? But the important thing is we're deploying threats, we're pushing the crab. That is all very good. And the proactivity of Hexdrinker as a simple Savannah Lions with upside is definitely not to be underestimated here. Opponents got more where that came from, though. Double crab into fetch land. Big yikes moment. And then they're going to mill us. Then on our upkeep, they will fetch. Fetch into a basic swamp. And then they're going to extirpate Fatal Pushes. Now, I should probably do that on the draw step, right? Or if they weren't doing it on the draw step, like, because they didn't want it to get beat by a Cling to Dust or something that we could draw for turn. Maybe they do it on their own turn. I think the upkeep is a little bit of a weird time to do it, but no, never mind. I actually stand corrected, because this is split second. We can't really react to it anyway, so fair enough. They can do whenever they want. Maybe it should be the draw step then, in any case. They will go for an extraction effect. Generally speaking, those are not good against us. Every now and then they can hose you, but generally speaking, they're not very good. We draw Unearth. Unearth is incredible in this matchup, and we can unearth a Hexdrinker or a Dark Confidant. But, they're at exactly 12. Our Goyfs are 4/5s, and if we make Hexy a level 4, then it is actually chump block time for one of the crabs, and because they were so worried about removal, this kind of turns our attack into a removal spell. Plus, it puts them dead on board next time. So that's definitely interesting, but there is a little scope to unearth for efficiency. We could have unearthed a 1-drop and also cast yet another Goyf from hand. We could also play a little bit, it's worth noting, around Crypt Incursion better that way. Not that Crypt Incursion is probably enough for them at this stage anyway, but it would make it that little bit worse. Just a couple things to note. But we're at 29 cards. Basically, the thing I'm afraid of right now is triple Archive Trap in hand, an opponent turning it on with a Field of Ruin. I guess double Archive Trap would kill us too, now that the crab mill has happened, but they don't have that. They have Glimpse the Unthinkable, looking, I guess, for a little bit more info before they concede, although they could have looked at our whole deck off of this Extirpate, right? But I don't think they did, if memory serves. They resolved that really quickly, so probably just gathering a little bit more info for Game 3. All right, we've got, frankly, a pretty bad keep, one that I would not have kept under most normal mental states, but I did decide to keep this one, and I probably should not have, but it is a value matchup. It does hurt to mulligan, and Fatal Push, as we've seen, is a premier card in the matchup, given the opponents. The crabs are like magnets. The crabs are drawn to our opponent's opening hand like magnets, and we are rewarded for the keep because we immediately draw a more relevant interaction in the form of Thoughtseize, but the crab has got to go. The crab will get pushed, and hey, for once the opponent does not have a second crab to follow it up. Let's go. Pretty hype. So, back over to us, we have drawn Liliana. Now, this could also reward our keep because we can clear the way with Thoughtseize. And then, we do have excess lands to pitch. So what I want to do here is Thoughtseize first. We're basically checking the hand to see what land to play next. If they have a couple Archive Traps, we're going to want to try not to fetch. If they have only one, we can consider taking it and then get our fetching out of the way before it matters. Now, they can still Field of Ruin, I understand that, but it's the more inconvenient we can make that for them, the better. So, do we want to give them the Archive Trap, or do we want to give them the Ashiok? I think we have to take one of the mill effects. Archive Trap, of course, is free and deals 13. Ashiok has other effects as well, but right now we don't care about Ashiok's other effects. It's going to mill us for at least 4. Before maybe we can draw an answer to it or try to start attacking it off the field with a Scavenging Ooze or something like that. So with that in mind, Drown in the Loch, it's a little bit non-bowy with Ashiok too. And the Fatal Push, that is what it is, but if we're going on a Liliana plan, maybe we can get these types of cards out of hand. So with all that in mind, I do go ahead and take away the Archive Trap. Remember, that is their way to kill us, right? We at least, if nothing else, buy ourselves more time this way. And then we will go ahead and fetch beforehand. And we have, it's worth noting, turn on Drown in the Loch in such a way that it can beat Liliana, but we expect them to Ashiok, and indeed they do. And because they do, and I think they should, because it can shut off other cards and it can start milling and all that, but because they do, we also have made their Drown in the Loch really bad, at least as things stand. So a lot going into those couple decisions, and we'll just see how it pans out for us. I'm all set to get the Liliana down and to stick the Lily, but we draw an Assassin's Trophy right away. And now I'm thinking, okay, well, I think this is kind of 6-1, half dozen of the other, but at the end of the day, I'm just going to stop them from milling again. So we go ahead and trophy, but that was probably the closest I came to not doing the decision that I showed you. I still really, really just wanted to get the Liliana down, but we don't. We go ahead and deal with the Ashiok, give the opponent another land, very kind of us, I know. And then they're going to field us, so have they found an Archive Trap? Well, no. So they're just turning on Drown in the Loch, making it a little better. We'll have to see. If they were going to do that, though, maybe our turn's a little bit better, just so they have Revolt for that push as well. But in any case, we draw another trophy. Not a bad one to have around, but what do we do with it? So I'm thinking that the Liliana, something about their sequencing made me think that maybe they have other permission as well besides the Liliana. We're playing a little bit scared, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, you know what? The Scooze is actually kind of a trap in that it doesn't do much right now. I don't expect that we'll be in a situation where it can do much, and I'm totally happy trading it away with a Fatal Push here. Not perfect, of course. It's a bit of a tempo loss and all that, but ultimately we have to get these cards out of hand at some point. And now the Ensnaring Bridge shows up, and suddenly my priorities change immensely. Now I have to kind of pivot to a totally different plan from the one I was just about to be on. We have to answer the bridge at all costs, and we've drawn a Fatal Push, so this actually allows us to do so. We have to run the Liliana out now as Drown in the Lockbait, basically, which does suck. We might have been rewarded if we stuck Lily on curve instead of waiting till turn 5, but would they now be sitting on the ability to protect Ensnaring Bridge? I don't know, right? So anyway, the important thing now, as I say, is to remove the bridge. So Drown will trade with Lily, Trophy will trade with the bridge, and the opponent has one Unknown in hand against our one Fatal Push. Kind of a top deck war at this point. We have some utility. They don't, as far as the land base goes. They're going to Visions to cantrip, they'll find a crab, and the card they've been holding is a land. So the milling will recommence. However, Fatal Push will put an end to that very shortly, and we draw Dark Confidant. So, push the crab, and we also field just to fix our own colors before, again, even though they can hardcast it before an Archive Trap shows up. And then it's Bob time, but the opponent will rip a Fatal Push right off the top. So, back to the top deck war, we draw Verdant Catacombs, not a particularly exciting one, however. Castle Locthwain. This card's been pretty darn good this league, I do have to say. It's been giving us chances when we might otherwise not have them. Castle and Cling to Dust, these X for 1 cards, because our spells are not as naturally X for 1 rich as other mid-range decks might be, we'll do that. After, of course, finding another land off Locthwain, however, it's looking a little bit worse. We'll once again fetch on our own terms, thinning out the deck a little bit at this point. And hey, we draw a good old Bobby. So, time to dump out the hand, play a Bob, and we've got Locthwain to crack on OP's end step. They don't kill Bob on our end step, so let's see what they've got. Well, it was a Ruin Crab off the top and a Blood Chief's Thirst that they were holding for Bob. So they do in fact have the kill, it's just gotta be at sorcery speed. But Castle Locthwain gonna hopefully dig us out of this, or is it we find Inquisition? Well, that's a pretty bad one. That's a pretty bad one. And then we find Lily of the Veil. That is just fine with me. So this is a true mid-range battle, and I hope you can see now exactly why I was loath to mulligan, because often it will come down to game states like this. Just main phase of Locthwain activation, no real reason not to. I guess they could have a discard spell, but we haven't seen one so far. It seems unlikely. Lily Edicts the Crab, pass to the opponent. And then we draw Thoughtseize, so it's worth noting how bad our top decks have been. Lily was good. We've also had a Bob, which is medium, a couple lands, and 3 discard spells since we went into a top deck war. Pretty rough stuff. And on top of all that, the opponent's just drawing instants in response to our Lily of the Veil. Thankfully, it's another extraction effect. These, again, are pretty poor against us. OP will extract Scooze. They don't get anything out of our hand. They get 1 card out of our deck. It is technically advancing the mill win condition, though. If nothing else, these extraction effects often will. So Castle Locthwain is the activation, and now it's Hexdrinker time. So, Hexdrinker, I think we have to play right now. It's basically we could get punished if they have sorcery speed removal, but are we really able to play it next turn? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, we cannot play it next turn while also beating a Blood Chief's Thirst anyway. This gets it under permission, this gets it under a lot of things, and it is also just getting us to level 8 next turn, also starting the clock sooner. So, Hexy to the rescue, we hope. Will opponent respond to our first activation with a Fatal Push? I almost can't bear to look. I activate Lily first, you could also lead on an Inquisition, it's kind of 6-1, half dozen of the other, or so I thought. But actually, Thieves Guild Enforcer, which is not a card we've seen so far, and not a card that I thought would be necessarily in their deck, I've seen this in more of a rogue sub-theme type deck. that does punish us, right? Because we could have forced it out with an Inquisition, then take down with Liliana, right? But as it happens, we do just have Hexy going to town here. And that's really the important thing. The opponent is on a 3-turn clock. They probably don't have any outs to a fully leveled Hexdrinker. And here come the beats. So we are winning the race, and the opponent also has Liliana to deal with. They'll crack back on the Lily. We draw another Hexdrinker. This mini Progenitus was feeling a little bit lonely, right? So in this case, I think it's correct to Inquisition to force a kill spell out of their hand. They'll extirpate in response for Lily of the Veil. Well, guess what? We don't have her in hand either. So our discard spells off the top have been really bad, but so have opponents' extraction effects, frankly. So the Hexdrinker team, the duo, the squad, we're leveling up here together. We've got the big brother leading the way, and then, I don't know, the little sister following hard on his heels, getting all the way up to level 6, but still a little summoning 6, still a little shy of Progenitus status. And the opponent is dead on board. What do they have? Well, they got a Bloodchief's Thirst. They can't let the happy duo persist forever, but it is all over. We do go to our turn. We draw Blooming Marsh just to really ram home the fact that we do still flood. We do still flood to insane degrees, even when we win, and then we get the win. So this game 3, it was back and forth. It was both players actually having pretty impressive progressions in some ways, and then some pretty bad top decks in other ways, kind of mirror images of one another, doing different things, but some of the same strengths and weaknesses, right? The other thing, though, that this really drives home is that Rock absolutely 1000% needs mana sinks. We have talked about this on the channel before. Even if the painful 3-color land base wasn't such an issue, I would not really say that Jund needs mana sinks in the way that Rock does. Rock needs them. Our spells do not X for 1, especially on ETB, as often as other mid-range decks do. That's just how it is when we're kind of on this on these 2-color tracks. So if we cannot control our draw step with card selection, and if we don't have just enough X for 1s to brute force our way through our own variants, we need mana sinks. We need every turn to be efficient, and we need a single spell to be able to win the game on turn 13, like this did, or maybe on turn 11 or 10 when we found it and resolved it and started leveling toward 8. So I hope you guys understand the point there, and man, this was some painful stuff. Again, the stuff you saw here, we had some highs and lows, right? But the league before it was just shockingly bad. So, feeling a little bit under duress, no pun intended. Feel like duress has been cast on me. I don't know exactly how to feel about the list or the archetype as a whole on the heels of this, but let's talk a little bit about that in the wrap-up. Well, that was a bit of a rocky road overall, my friends. We definitely won some games, though. We definitely won some matches. We comprehensively dismantled the Sultai Tempo list in round 2. In that match, I felt rewarded both for my deck's composition and for its overall choice of strategy. If there was more tempo in the format, Rock would be amazing. Unfortunately, there's not. There's a lot of other mid-rangey decks that can outvalue us. I would, Control basically fits that bill too. And also there's big mana, there's prowess. We saw a lot of that today, and we were on the receiving end of a lot of that today, frankly. And there's still a lot to like about the Rock, but for me, my biggest takeaway here is I cannot look past Lurrus. I wish I could say otherwise. I wish I could say, here are the relative strengths and weaknesses of Boomer Rock, Catless Rock versus Cat Rock, Lurrus Rock. There are a few incentives to Lurrus Rock. Basically, you get to play Collector Ouphe, and you're not vulnerable to opposing Collector Ouphes. And if cards like Tracker, QB, Plague Man as main deck threats are really well positioned, you get to really lean into those. To me, those do not outweigh the strengths of Cat Rock, which are, if you play it as a companion, you get to reach for that free 8th card, which is insane grinding value, especially because the card itself is so good. Or you also have the option to main deck Lurrus, and you have to play Baubles to do that, but when you're playing Baubles, Lurrus is a more powerful card in a vacuum as a whole than any of these other top-end cards you're looking at. You don't have to ditch Liliana to do so. Maybe you go down to 3 sometimes, that's fine, that's just a curve thing, but no inherent non-bow there. And also, The thing is, Bauble is not even a burden. Bauble is actually really good. It's probably not quite good enough to like play a play set if you're not playing Lurrus, especially because Lurrus is legal, just like play the cat if you're playing Baubles, right? But you saw, I think, here, a lot of our issues came from inefficiency in the early turns, and Bauble smooths out your early turns. And yes, Bauble can be a bad top deck late game. You're hellbent, you top deck it, you crack it immediately, you draw sorcery on the opponent's turn. I understand that can happen. But to me, that is less relevant than the early game work Bauble does in terms of cleaning up your progression in the first, 3 turns. And that is often where the game is won or lost. If you need Revolt without having fetch lands, if you need just to make another land drop before it's too late, if you need the right colors, if you need to double spell, Bauble enables all of that so well. And also with Lurrus, your curve will be lower, so you're more likely to be able to double spell, for example. So that is my big takeaway here. I'd like to say that the list outperformed expectations. It didn't, unfortunately. So I've played 15 matches with Boomerrock actually in the past few weeks, which is a low sample size still, but for me it's a lot. And I think I'm actually negative overall. This league plus the previous league I played on the channel were both 3 and 2s, and I also had the 1 and 4 that preceded this league that I mentioned in the deck tech here. So what does that put us at? 7 and 8, right? Yeah, 7 and 8, not very good. I'm used to 3 and 2 or better with Rock, and I think maybe if we were on Lurrus for all 15 of those matches, maybe we're at least 8 and 7 or 9 and 6. Variants can happen. Even very powerful decks can go as bad as 4 and 11 over 3 leagues. It definitely happens, but I have seen nothing to convince me that we should not be on Lurrus. So, Erwin, my friend, that is my takeaway. I hope you enjoyed the league. I'm sorry to be so dogmatic. I'm just giving everybody my sincere thoughts. If there are countervailing arguments that need to be made, please do make them in the comments below. And, sorry if I had a little bit of sloppiness about my play. What can I say? I had a glass of relaxation with me for the entirety of the league. Not something I'm used to, and don't worry, not something I'll do often. But after that earlier league, I needed something to raise my morale and, imbue me with a little bit of will to keep playing this game, which sometimes I need a little bit of help in order to gin up the motivation. No pun intended. So in any case, thank you once again for watching. You can let me know your thoughts about Boomerrock versus Catrock if you want, and on the Catrock subject, I will have a theory video coming out pretty soon. Lurrus as a companion versus Lurrus main deck. What are the pros and cons there? To me, that is the important discussion to have, and the Boomerrock thing can still be done. It's still a real deck. Again, I hate to be so dogmatic about it, but for me, it's Lurrus all day, every day. I'm grateful, though, for the opportunity to have revisited the catless versions of the Rock, and it still got some game, but I need baubles in my life, I think, when I'm on this deck. So, thanks again, Erwin. Appreciate you, my friend. See you around, and thank you to all viewers and Patreon supporters. I will talk to you guys soon. Hope everybody out there has a wonderful night.